Good afternoon. It is Tuesday, October 25th. Skipped yesterday. I was concerningly lightheaded through far more of the day than I care to have been. Basically, I got nothing done. I just laid in bed all day. But it got better, and hopefully it's not like anything long-term I need to be worried about. Maybe it's just I was too tired or anxiety or something like that. Hopefully that's all something simple. But today, it's movie day. It's Tuesday. So I'm gonna watch a movie. Like, there's like fun movies I can watch, but I got this shelf I'm working on. Try and watch all the movies on this shelf before the end of the year, and there's only 2 left. And one of them I've basically been holding off on, well, sort of. I'm putting off until Halloween time. Not that I'm the biggest fan of it, but I've seen it. Hannibal. I'm not sure. Maybe I liked it, or maybe I liked Red Dragon, but I have both of them. So I had one, and then I chose to get the other because one of them was good enough to do that. I know there's another one that, like, the character is in. It's like a popular movie, but I don't remember what movie it is. I've never seen it. I only know him from Hannibal and Red Dragon. I don't know. It's almost Halloween. Time for a spooky movie. Like, look at him. He's so spooky. Yeah. But, I don't remember anything about this movie. Or the little things that I do remember, I don't know if it's this movie or Red Dragon. But yeah, I guess watch Hannibal. And before giving my rating for the movie, I think I should point out that this is a good movie if you like horror films, particularly if you like psychological horror films. I would say it's good for someone who likes that. And in theory, I like psychological horror. I mean, I don't like horror at all, but as far as horror goes, I guess really the top thing I like of horror is interesting visualization ideas with horror. But otherwise, beyond that, like psychological, at least I can appreciate. I have a hard time appreciating, say, the jump scares of a slasher film kind of horror. That doesn't feel very entertaining. But psychological horror, where it makes you think, is entertaining. And I understand the people that really enjoy those films. I get it. But it's a successful psychological horror film. It gets in my head. It messed with me for the last couple of hours, and I don't like it. So it gets a 4 out of 10. Because it's mean, and it messed with my head. And it did exactly what it tried to do as a psychological horror film. It was successful, and I don't like it. 4 out of 10. You're stupid. From the back of the box. The silence has been broken. Thrilling time. Absorbing the Wall Street Journal. And entertaining Newsday. This follow-up to The Silence of the Lambs. That was the name of the other Hannibal Lecter movie that I couldn't remember. That I've never seen that one. That's, I think, that's the one. This follow-up, this is a sequel to it. Yeah, makes sense. That kind of, like, the storyline is clearly, this follow-up to The Silence of the Lambs is an audacious success, U.S. Weekly. Anthony Hopkins is perverse perfection, Rolling Stone. They really like their reviews, don't they? In his return to the role of Dr. Hannibal Lecter, the sophisticated killer who comes out of hiding to draw FBI agent Clarice Starling, Julianne Moore, into a high-stakes battle that will test her strength, cunning, and loyalty. Drenched in terror, suspense, and shocking visual effects. I mean, yeah, they don't use the term good visual effects, they use the term shocking visual effects. And in fact, many of the visual effects, like, literally, they rely on you going, ooh, I don't want to look at that, for them to be good visual effects. As long as you're going, ooh, I don't want to look at it, it looks fine, because you're not looking at it. Hannibal is as compelling a film as you will ever see. Joe Siegel, Good Morning America. So this is the story, as you eventually find out, of Clarice trying to recapture Hannibal Lecter after he escaped. I guess he was kept in an asylum and he got transitioned into like police custody when the asylum shut down, and he killed 3 officers and escaped. That's all stuff that you never see. That's just stuff from the background of trying to figure... Because, like, early in the film, you're trying to figure out, like, what on earth is going on? What's the plot? What's even happening? What are we following? Like, that is part of what you have to figure out as an audience, is what is this movie about? They're not handing that to you. They don't tell you. You have to work it out yourself. It involves Clarice in, whatever, various stages of disgrace from her FBI job, as other people in the department are working against her while she's trying to actually get this psychotic killer. It involves one of Hannibal's former victims who survived, being drugged, told to cut off pieces of his own face and feed them to dogs, played by Gary Oldman, who is fantastic, in like really a disturbing makeup look through most of it, but he is just as crazy as Hannibal. He is wealthy and disfigured and has this army of people that just work with him because of how much money he has, that he just uses towards trying to get his little revenge plot of trying to feed Hannibal to pigs. Because Hannibal fed his face to dogs, and he thinks it would be fitting. And, like, he's, like, both hates the man but loves him. Like he has this... It's an obsession. And, of course, in the end, he himself gets pushed in and eaten by his own pigs. Fitting. It also features... Where much of the film, Hannibal is hiding out in France, and it features a detective there who at first isn't aware of all is what's going on, and eventually finds out who Hannibal is, and instead of doing the proper thing and informing the FBI like he knows he should, he finds that there is this private individual, the crazy rich guy, who is offering a bigger reward, and so he goes through absurd methods to try and get that contract and turn him over to him, which leads to him getting himself killed. Through, of course, poetic justice that Hannibal makes sure to point out to him before, before killing him. But it's a guy that, like Clarice is, like, literally trying to warn, what's going on? Don't do this. Don't go in on your own. Don't, you need to do this the proper way. You will get killed, and he gets killed. And then, as Clarice gets to her lowest point of, kicked out of the FBI by some guy who's, again, feeding into the money of this individual, betraying her, betraying the office, because this individual is now trying to use Clarice as bait to pull Hannibal out. He gets him for a moment. That's how Hannibal manages to get the guy killed by his own pigs, is because Hannibal's finally captured by him. Anyways, through that, we end up with our final scene, where Clarice is, from being injured in that whole ordeal, drugged and brought back, and he fixes her wound and takes her to the lake home of the officer or whatever, individual in the FBI who betrayed her. Basically, who did everything wrong. And he drugs that guy, cuts open his head, pop, and starts feeding him his own brain. And this is the scene by which this movie probably lost about 1.5 points, because it really disturbed me. It's a disturbing concept of being, so drugged that you have no idea what's going on, that someone is sitting there and cutting off parts of your own brain and feeding them to you. That's disturbing. But throughout this whole thing, like Hannibal is doing this because he wants to protect Clarice. He's intrigued by her. He likes her. And this is brought up throughout. And at the end, she's there trying to capture him. Trying to knock him out while the police are on their way. And he basically locks her into an old school fridge. Well, locks her hair into it so she can't walk away from it. And in a moment of his distraction, she handcuffs herself to him so he can't flee. Of course, he leans back and he grabs the butcher knife. And he toys with her. And he cuts. And then we cut forward a bit to her trying to figure out where he's ran off to. He's gone. But she has both her hands. And we end with him on a plane with his arm in a sling because he cut his own hand off rather than hers. He made the decision to harm himself rather than her. And he left. And then he feeds some cooked up bit of that dude's brain to some child on an airplane. And that's our final shot because he's messed up. He's messed up, dude. It's a messed up movie. It's messed up. It's psychotic and crazy and makes me uncomfortable, and I don't like it, but it's good. And if you like psychological horror and you haven't seen it, I would recommend. If you are a normal and decent person and think that the things I just described in the movie are horrific and horrendous, and why would anyone ever, subject themselves to having to watch such a thing? Well, I will tell you, it's because I'm trying to pull all the movies on the shelf forward, and so I gotta pull this movie forward. I have to do it. It has to come forward. I have to finish the collection. It's the desire to collect. I own a movie. I bring it forward. That's what I'm doing here. And so now it's forward, and I don't have to watch it again because it's. So I am gonna call it a night. And I'm going to try and find some funny videos on YouTube to clear up my mind of such horrendous things that I have just witnessed. And hopefully not have any trouble sleeping at night. Because that's already been a problem this week, I think. And bad movie. Good movie, but bad movie. Conflicting review. So yeah, I'm going to call it a night. Thank you for joining me. Join me as my journey continues.